Hello there and welcome to episode 6 of the Digital Dialogue series. My name is Rene Grosdanovski, and in each episode, I take you on a journey through some of the biggest digital questions in asset-intensive industry today. Can't believe we're at 6 already. Each episode focuses on a different topic, and each has some interesting guests providing expert and real-life insight into the topic at hand. The aim is to unpack each of these topics and discuss in detail what they mean for you and your organization. I will keep this week's intro brief, as I know my guests have lots to cover today. Personally, I've been excited about this episode since I heard about the program start. It covers a topic near and dear to my heart, one with common misconceptions and misunderstandings. So hopefully we can clarify a few things today. This episode is labeled Platform Thinking in the Asset-Intensive Industry. But before we get into it, let me take a moment to remind you to join our LinkedIn group. And as always, there's an interactive session with the Q&A panel on the right-hand side. So I am expecting to hear from you with some comments, some questions, and just general feedback. All right, platform thinking. Well, I think before we can start talking about thinking about platforms, we need to explore the term platform. It seems natural to understand what it means. Gartner explains it as a platform is a product that serves or enables other products or services. So where's the confusion? Seems simple enough to me. Well, apparently not. With many people still saying, isn't it just like SaaS or Facebook? One thing is certain, that most leaders today agree that platform thinking is the way of the future, supporting us and our ever-evolving business models. And of course, digital transformation, the change that underpins the drive for platform thinking. But how do the two actually relate? How does an organization use platform thinking as part of their digital transformation journey? Well, let's get to that and much more, I'm sure. As always, I have a couple of experts with me who are able to help me answer some of these questions, and I'm sure with your help, some others. With me here today, I have Michael Kahir, GM of Certus Digital, and yes, my boss, so let's make sure we're nice to him today. And Sam Williams, Director of Marketing for Certus Group. Michael, Sam, I want to have a quick intro from you guys. Let's start with Michael.
Thanks, Rene. Hi. So I'm the General Manager of Certus Digital, and we've been focusing on the asset-intensive industry now for a good 20-odd years. So we've seen quite a lot of change in the market and approaches, and so we're quite keen to share our experiences.
And I'm Sam Williams. Some of you may know me from an episode that I hosted in Rene's place, but I've been working with the Certus Group now for nearly 7 years and work with the subject and topic of digital transformation in relation to revenue generation, as well as transformation in information management and in asset intensive as well.
Thank you, gents. Obviously, I know you have a lot to cover today. It is a big topic, and I'm sure it will spark some interesting conversation. So without any further delay, I'm going to hand over to you two to take us through this week's topic.
Great. Well, I'll be kicking off and kind of setting the scene for things. Digital transformation in everyday activity is kind of the stepping off point for what I wanted to talk about in terms of how platforms are coming together. So if we take the example of transportation and driving, which is the example that's up on the screen here, I guess driving is something we take for granted in the sense that, it's become second nature once you have driven for a number of years. But there's a process that you go through, which is to sense, understand off the back of the sensing that's going on, and then respond. And so this is a continuous process that we go through, which is, as I say, second nature to most of us, but it's also an organic process. And it's interesting to contrast that at a macro level when we talk about digital transformation, the complexity of what's involved in building driverless cars and creating a driverless experience, if you like. What is that to be like, and what is the complexity that underlies it? And so it's an interesting metaphor in relation to digital transformation. And in fact, when we think about how driverless cars are coming to bear, you have various car manufacturers creating platforms that enable this. So examples like Tesla, where they've built in sensors into their cars, which are constantly uploading data into the cloud. So you're starting to see the emergence of new products with Tesla. You may have recently seen that they're getting into the insurance game, and they're basing insurance premiums on the sensor data that's coming from the vehicles. So you're seeing in the field of driverless cars, and in particular asset intensive, this idea of platform playing out around digital transformation. So if we talk about this process and this idea that it's an organic process, it starts with the sensing, understanding, and responding. The easiest analogy from the sensing standpoint is you've got the Internet of Things. From a understanding standpoint, you've got AI and machine learning. And then from a response standpoint, you have a whole lot of virtual assistants. And this could be anything from a dashboard through to some sort of chatbot or augmented reality or a wearable or a voice assistant, or at the far end of the spectrum, it could be something like a digital human. I guess the point here is that this process is one that is dynamic and continuous. And so the idea of an infinity loop here is depicting that it's not something you do once, it's something that you do on a continuous basis. One of the aspects of it, and the analogy that I like to use here, is it's a little bit like Cat5 cabling, what's going on in here. There are these 5 interwoven components that make up this process of becoming digital. So the shielding or the wrappers that go around it are security and data. And then you have 3 twisted twisted strands that are in the center of the cable, which are your systems and application development, your infrastructure, so things like cloud, the different devices, connectivity, and the information management that underlies the system. And the 5th, and perhaps often overlooked one, is mindset and culture. And one of the things that's particularly pertinent here in relation to digital transformation is studies have found that more than 2/3 of digital initiatives fail to get off the ground. And that has a lot to do with the mindset and culture of your organization and its readiness to actually digitally transform. So if we start to talk about how do we start to apply this in a digital enterprise? If I want to go down this journey of becoming more of a digital enterprise, it starts at essence around your core requirements. So depending on what it is that you're trying to do, which it could be as simple as business enablement, or it could be the incremental improvement of some sort of process, or it could be about building better business intelligence, through to more effective innovation. So depending on where you are in that spectrum, you need to apply an iterative process like the one that I just described, which is about something that is agile and iterative, as I said. But we can say that the types of outcomes for digital businesses fall into 3 basic categories. So the sorts of outcomes that people are looking for are better insight for event response, some form of ongoing improvement, so insights to help with ongoing improvement or innovation. The second area that typically people are looking for from an outcome standpoint is happier, safer, more sustainable, compliant, better environmental outcomes, and better processes and better organizations. So it's looking at the overall well-being, shall we say, of the organization. And the third category is around improved commerce. So this could be everything from better yields, volumes, or better user and customer experiences through to the development of new business models. And I guess it's interesting to think about how we put these pieces together as we start to talk about platforms. And how do you enable your organization to embark on some sort of digital transformation journey? And it could be as simple as enablement at one end of the spectrum, or it could be as complex as some form of innovation at the other end of the spectrum. And I guess this is a good moment to maybe ask Michael to chime in here around what he's found in terms of asset-intensive organizations around this sort of process.
Thanks, Sam. Yes, we absolutely see this every day as organizations try to find ways to evolve and make sense of new sets of information and move up that maturity curve. It's absolutely not a start-finish. It's a continuous loop, and it needs to be, because lots of organizations are struggling with assets being more connected and information that's just being pushed out to clients and organizations who are just inundated with the amount of data they're receiving now. So it's certainly a continuous loop, without a doubt.
Yeah, so in terms of how do you affect digital transformation or putting it into practice? So there's kind of a couple of key components. One is this idea of adopting a digital business practice. So adopting this mindset or this approach that we are going to become a more agile, iterative organization to sense, understand, and respond. And then the second piece of the puzzle, if you like, is it takes shape using some form of digital transformation framework. And so that's broadly broken down into a 4-step continuous process, rather similar to the infinity loop, where you look at what is your ambition, you assess your maturity and the ability of the organization to embrace it. So you look at the cultural barriers that there might be to your ambition. So you get those mapped out up front. And then architecting that digital transformation and finally putting it into practice through activation. So what this means is that in both senses, you've got this mindset, which is this digital mode of operations, if you like. And then there is a process that you go through, again, on a continuous basis. And the thing that speeds this up is the use of platforms. And that's really the essence of what we wanted to talk about today, is how platforms enable digital transformation to take place. And that's the example that we have here, is that Certus Digital have actually built a platform that enables digital transformation. And so with that, I'll hand it to Michael to talk a little bit about how this is constructed.
Yes, so we've taken a platform approach to everything we do, and the reason we do that and what we mean by that is we try and drive an engagement model with our clients that covers the business functions and the outcomes an organization in the asset-intensive industry need to think about. And this is important because helping our clients move up that maturity curve requires a much more holistic approach to delivering those outcomes. Our clients, they don't speak in technology speak, they speak in terms of outcomes that they need to achieve. And those outcomes may start and finish upstream or downstream from a client's asset repository, for example. It's also something that, like Sam mentioned, that doesn't start with, it doesn't have a start and end point, but more of a continuous journey. And so by taking a platform approach, it allows us as an organization to tackle the challenges within the asset-intensive industry that they're facing, because it allows us to leverage the innovation, tap into innovation, tap into transformational services that use, by taking an ecosystem approach to how we deliver that value. And in order to take that 360-degree view, it's anywhere from a basic optimization of infrastructure right through to digital transformation.
And I guess it's also about bringing an ecosystem to bear in relation to the platform. So platforms and ecosystems go hand in glove, is probably the easiest way of putting it. That a truly effective platform is only as good as the ecosystem that there is there to be able to support that platform and bring it to life. So with that in mind, one of the things that we've done with the asset-intensive platform that we've put together is that there is a wrapper that goes around it that creates an experience for you as a customer. So this is the Accelerate program. And so there is a piece of the Accelerate program which is your digital transformation advocacy and leadership piece, and the building of a community around that digital transformation experience, if you like. And then there is a piece around how you bring all of the different ecosystem partners to bear in relation to the platform. And so therefore create a customer experience for you as a consumer of the platform. And this is all linked to whatever it is that you're seeking to do in that spectrum, from business enablement through to innovation. And I guess here we have an example showing how the sum of all the parts is greater than any individual. And in this diagram here, which if we put full screen, you'll be able to see the different partners that have come together. And Michael, maybe you want to talk to that.
Yeah, I mean, this is for us really key. When you think through what COVID has brought to New Zealand, New Zealand often talks about, the team of 5 million fighting COVID. This sum of all parts being greater than individual one is important. It allows us to extend our reach into areas such as facility management and space management, property management with organizations like Trixie, but also it allows us to add an analytical and reporting capability with organizations like Cortel. So broadening our reach and allows us to take a best-of-breed local partner network with the reach, a worldwide reach, with an ecosystem of partners who we think are crucial to delivering asset-intensive outcomes.
Yeah, it's probably worthwhile also mentioning that part of the ecosystem is an academic and research partnership with the University of New South Wales and the Australian Graduate School of Management. So you've got Dern at UNSW, who are the research arm around digital initiatives. And then you've got, from a professional development standpoint, the relationship there is with the ecosystem with the Australian Graduate School of Management. So it's not just about technology partners. It really is an interdisciplinary ecosystem of partners to be able to create those business outcomes leveraging this platform approach. So when we talk about platform thinking, it's a lot more than a technology stack. It's really a combination of a process. It's a combination of an ecosystem that leverages a platform. So this diagram here kind of summarizes the essence of what we believe platform thinking to be all about. It starts with your business problem. It looks at how you're going to deliver a certain set of outcomes that you might desire from solving that business problem. So it involves leveraging a platform and an ecosystem with a methodology or a framework to deliver those outcomes. So again, when we talk about a platform or platform thinking, it's a lot more than a technology stack. And I guess what we've seen is that depending on where you are in that spectrum or that hierarchy between business enablement through to more effective innovation, there are different pathways that we've found that clients find the easiest to work with us around. So at its most, at that lower level, if you like, in the hierarchy, you have enablement services, which is taking a digital enablement approach. Then if you're looking for something in the optimization space or better business intelligence, there's a solutioning services pathway, which uses an intelligent systems delivery approach. And if you're looking to undertake some sort of innovation initiative, we have a transformation services, which has a suite of digital consulting capabilities, and we use that approach to deliver the outcomes that you're looking for. And maybe, Michael, you want to chime in here and talk a little bit about your experience around these three different approaches in relation to asset-intensive organizations.
Yeah, so I think everybody starts with a particular need that they need to resolve. And so quite often, a lot of the things that we do is around enablement. But it is part of a strategy, and it kind of depends on where an organization is in their maturity curve and what their strategy is. And we need to be able to have the capability and an ecosystem that can jump in on any of those pathways. And that's what our platform allows us to do. It broadens our capability. It allows us to be more relevant holistically to the organizations that we deal with, and bring in specialists who understand what's required in those different pathways.
And so, Michael, around the idea of building operational excellence, and if you like, moving up the asset maturity curve, what have you found in terms of this approach?
We've found a lot of information within organizations don't necessarily sit within an asset repository, for example. It sits across the enterprise. And so in order to meet an outcome such as condition-based maintenance, for example, we've had to go back and take a much broader approach around integration and understanding data quality, understanding different sources of information that needs to come together to get a condition that you can actually work and take action on. And so we have need to evolve and get into areas that we didn't particularly get focused in the past, to be able to be relevant to our clients. And that's one way in which organizations have been able to push up that operational improvement, by getting access to information that's in their enterprise, but not necessarily in their asset or work management system. And also from a transformation and improvement of utilization of people, we've spent equally a lot of time looking at business processes which are enhanced by having information in front of an client and in front of an end user that they can act on straight away. So that's been a big driver around information management and trying to put that in the hands in front of end users.
And from the point of view of improving business intelligence, using the platform thinking approach, what does that mean in terms of, you know, how I can improve the outcomes that I'm looking for from a business intelligence standpoint?
Well, again, it's about understanding where your data is in your organization, and how do you connect that data that's maybe in your SCADA systems with the information that's in your work management system. And so we've spent a lot of time in the utility sector across both gas and electricity, trying to bring different forms of information together, which we can interrogate and present to the end user to help with that decision-making process.
I mean, all of this is great, but transformation obviously seems complicated, and we just had a question come in from the virtual audience, asking us, transformation is complex and it's got many moving parts, as we're just discussing in detail. So what advice do you have for customers that are wanting to get started on this? Where do you start?
Who would you like to answer that question?
Sorry, I guess I was addressing that at Michael.
Where do you start? I think it's really about having a clear driver around where you need to go from a maturity perspective. It's not for us to tell organizations how mature they are, but it's about how we help them move up to that next step. And from our perspective, we get exposed to organizations who are quite mature in their asset management strategy, and some who are just beginning the journey. And so it's really about helping organizations move to the next step that's important for them, and whatever they can cope with from a change perspective.
I guess it depends on kind of the center of gravity that's relevant to your organization and your kind of age and stage of things. So, you know, there are these different pathways or business problems that you might be seeking to solve. So, you know, I guess you start narrow, and, you know, again, it's partly about adopting the practice, but it's trying to solve a specific problem in the first instance. So that could be around workforce productivity, for instance. So at its simplest, it might be about mobilizing field operations in some way, or it might be replacing paper-based systems. So that's part of the process, if you like, around identifying your ambition. But those ambitions can be small or they can be large. The key here is thinking about it from leveraging a platform point of view, that every investment that you're making around the enablement of a system is actually going to benefit you in relation to the more complex things that you might be wanting to do subsequently.
So I guess focusing on your outcome, understanding the outcome, what the business benefit is associated with that outcome, and then having a clear plan still remains very relevant. But here I am as a customer. I guess Certus Digital has selected this as a primary approach and has wrapped its platform around that. What other benefits would you say to me as a client? What have you got to offer to me, I guess?
Well, we want to take our local trusted approach and best of breed approach to our clients. We have to think much broader. We have to be able to take an end-to-end approach, but we're also realize that we're not a one size fits all. We won't have the capability, and that's where our ecosystem comes in. And so we specialize in the asset intensive industry, and we are looking for partners and both from a business and a technology perspective who can add value and help us achieve our clients' outcomes. So it's a local partner, but with that reach, which is much broader than in the region.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess the perspective that I would offer around that is part of using a platform approach is you're making investments that enable you to pivot depending on changing circumstances. So as an example, most recently around workspace optimization or facilities management, there has been a substantial amount of work that's been involved in repurposing space or actually implementing social distancing guidelines. And if you already have made that investment in a facilities management system that is part of an integrated platform where you're able to access better business intelligence, you have the ability to more rapidly and efficiently repurpose that space, as an example. So it's about introducing a flexibility or agility into your business that perhaps we hadn't considered before, certainly in relation to COVID-19, but just in general in relation to any event that could create disruption. So a platform approach is an approach that enables you to build a more digitally resilient business.
So, I mean, AI is such a wide space, right? Where do you see this applying the most? I mean, is there limits? How do I know it's the right fit for me? I guess it is a you, Sam.
Okay, so I guess it is this case of baby steps. The different types of technology and the different adoption cycles that there are and the traps and pitfalls that there are can make an awfully big difference, or an awful big difference to the success of any given project. And I guess coming back to that analogy around driverless cars, what we've seen from car manufacturers is the introduction of sensors into the vehicles so that incrementally we're getting a better understanding of the conditions that an engine is operating under, how a vehicle is operating overall in terms of performance, but also in terms of the environment that it's encountering, so that we're collecting intelligence so that as we apply machine learning, as we start to look at ways to apply artificial intelligence, we actually have the information there to be able to make meaningful strides, if you like, around the adoption of AI and machine learning. So the net of that is there's an argument that it starts with your information and the gathering of that information and creating that foundation to be able to be more effective in the application of these more advanced technologies.
And I think that's becoming even more and more as assets gets replaced. A lot of assets are coming with sensors and communication type technology that is going to push information to an organization, and the challenge is how do you absorb that and make sense of that to drive things like your condition-based maintenance strategies.
So really, in many ways, there is no real limit or particular sector of asset intensive where it applies more than others. It's really, in some ways, the problems that we're all facing are shared in many ways. The topics likely vary, but in many ways, we're trying to achieve the same thing. Michael, I guess I'm interested. Obviously, we talked a lot about the approach and how one goes about it. But I guess where have you seen this in action? Where have you used this to make a real life difference?
We've spent a lot of time and energy around different sectors of the asset intensive. A lot around data cleansing in order to improve, but also, as Sam mentioned, enabling people in the field to get access to the information that they need, and the information that they need may not necessarily be in an asset or work management system. It may be in multiple systems. So it's really about how do you improve your processes. And we're seeing a lot of that in service provider organizations and utilities who've got a lot of work management capability. They're out in the field. They're out wanting to access information in a connected or disconnected environment, and that information is in their enterprise. It's not in any particular one solution. So in order to provide an outcome like that, we need to be able to understand the reference architecture that sits within an organization, and work with IT clients or architecture team and IT team to build a reference architecture that enables that single view of the asset, of which you can then start to drive insights and make visible to people in the field.
Yeah, that's all very fair. Sam, anything you want to add to
that? I guess there's a few dimensions to this, as I mentioned at the beginning. So the trap to this is that more than 2/3 of digital transformation initiatives fail, and that's I believe it's a Gartner statistic, and so it's understanding that an approach needs to be holistic, that it's not just about the application of technology to solve a process-related issue. The process of becoming digital is, first of all, an organic one, but it's very much about your culture and your mindset, that ensuring that you have alignment in terms of the various groups that there are, or stakeholders that there are in relation to whatever your digital ambition or digital initiative is around, is really key to it having a fit for purpose outcome, if you like, and realizing that you're laying bricks here, one brick at a time is going to enable you to become digital over time. I'm not sure, Michael, whether there's anything.
So much like a journey, really. Again, we talk about, many of our digital dialogues have been talking about a journey. It isn't something that is done overnight. It isn't something that is changed in one project in 1 year in one particular initiative. And I guess this falls once again under that category.
And I think there needs to be a realization that a lot of organizations, they need to evolve and transform, but the lights still need to be kept on too. And so there's an appetite of how much change is possible without sinking the ship, so to speak. And that's, but it is important to start with that ambition and where you want to be, and then it's about putting manageable steps in place, as Sam said, to get to that ambition over a period of time.
I mean, in many ways, again, talking about the topic at hand, which obviously is about platform thinking, predefined, I guess, building blocks or steps or bundles of services that deliver a particular outcome surely make the pathway a lot easier along the way and define that pathway.
Yes, it does, and I think that's where the ecosystem comes in, where you've got best of breed organizations with their platforms, with their IP that they can apply quickly to the outcomes we're trying to achieve. And sure, we can struggle on and try and get the outcomes ourselves, but there are people out there who are quite simply better at some pieces than we are, and so our approach has been to let's bring the experts in, let's bring them in a coordinated and structured way, so we have a consistent service, but leverage the lessons learned from other organizations and other experiences, and get that I guess that time to values to speed that up.
Interesting point you make about the ecosystem, and obviously bringing in other partners. And as you say, there's people who do particular things really well. Some would argue, and it's certainly been in the back of my mind, aren't you opening the door to some of your competitors?
Look, I think there is a level of maturity that's required to be here, but equally we need, to have a strong relationship with our clients. We need to be able to be mature enough to say, hey, we're really good at this and we're not so good at that, but we have a ecosystem of partners who we know and trust, who can come in and provide that piece of the puzzle that needs to be delivered. And I think that's really important. And I don't believe that any client thinks that we can do everything. We certainly can't. But if a lot of our relationships and our strategy around relationship with our customers is to be very long term, where we bring in what is specialists in the area, or new technologies, or new ways of doing things, to speed up that time to value.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, and really it's to sum up, it's a really simple adage. I guess I learned this many years ago. It's not what you do that differentiates you, it's how you do it that differentiates you. So in other words, the method that you're actually applying to something, to solving a problem, becomes the essence of the value that you're able to derive there. So it's the approach, it's simply put, how you do it, not what you do, that makes a difference.
That does make perfect sense. Well, thank you for that. I think that's all we've got time for today. I guess.
I'm disappointed. I wanted to keep talking.
That's why I'm cutting you off. No, I wanted to say thank you, I guess, and just a quick summary from me. I guess with digital transformation, the focus of many organizations being digital transformation, and the support of platform thinking can provide, it is no wonder that more and more organizations are looking at the ever more crowded world of platforms. But knowing how to differentiate, understand what they mean to you, and maybe more importantly, how to go about leveraging what remains, leveraging what they offer remains key. And we just covered off about how to go about that. Today we explored a bit more detail how Certus is tackling these challenges for some of our clients, and I'm sure all of you will be able to relate how this can apply directly to you and the challenges that you are facing today. I hope we managed to clarify it in a bit more detail, what platforms are and what platforms aren't, and how to go about unlocking their true potential. Like I said from the beginning, it was always going to be a complicated topic. There's a lot of misunderstanding and misconception about what platforms are. And so hopefully today helped you shed some light on that topic. I want to thank Michael and Sam for their time. And I know they enjoyed their time here. I'm going to go on a limb and say that. But thank you. I know you're both very busy men, so thank you for spending your time on your Friday afternoon with me talking about platform thinking. I guess that was episode 6, platform thinking in the asset intensive space. In the next episode, we'll be talking about why you need to think about digital transformation differently. So hopefully it's a nice follow on from today. And I do hope you can all join me in a couple of weeks' time. Thank you and have a good weekend.